All right, welcome back. I've got with me one of my good longtime friends, Clint. Clint and I have known each other for years, and honestly, he's the guy I go to when I get stuck and I don't know what to do when it comes to business brokering because he's been around, done a lot of deals, but he thinks outside of the box. And so I appreciate all the advice, the insight he has, and I thought, what better person to bring on here and chat about how to have a good buyer-seller meeting. So, Clint, just give us a quick introduction. Where are you based? A little background.
Trent, thanks for having me on, man. I really look up to you as well and have enjoyed our friendship over the years. Yeah, man, I've been doing professional M&A advisory for a little over 10 years, and now I run a platform company that is a technology company that helps people buy and sell companies. And we're doing some exciting stuff. That company's called Dealonomy. And besides that, I'm just a serial entrepreneur that turned into an M&A advisor and kind of came from a non-traditional background to this space. So I didn't have any formal MBA or finance or CPA background. I just came in as an entrepreneur with a fresh set of eyes and just have had a lot of fun with it. I love helping people change their life story, whether they're a seller or a buyer, and helping them make their dreams come true. Revs me up, makes me happy. And then I've just become well known in this space from teaching. I love teaching, speaking, writing, and sharing about all the nuances and topics that are within this wonderful world that we find ourselves in. It's just been fascinating to me to learn all this stuff. I feel like I learn something new every day, and I just love sharing it with people as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And we'll talk a little bit about Dealonomy, what it does, and how it might benefit some of the buyers. But let me just ask you a handful of questions from a buyer's perspective here. How do they prepare to have a good meeting with the seller? So before a buyer walks in to meet with the seller for the first time, what do you suggest a buyer does to research, to prepare, to be taken seriously from the seller? What are some of the best practices?
Yeah, we can talk a lot about this topic. I typically am thinking about this from a perspective of a broker represented deal since we're brokers and we're often facilitating that first buyer seller meeting. The biggest piece of advice I would give you is to keep the first meeting all about relationship. So it's just about you want the seller to like you, trust you, and feel comfortable with you. And if you need to get into the weeds on the finances and the negotiation, do that with the broker before and after the meeting. But don't go in there playing hardball and fussing over details on the financials. You can do that with the broker later, and that allows you to almost be think about it like good cop, bad cop. If you've got something really challenging that you need to address, challenge the broker on it because that's what we're here for. We're here to serve as that buffer. And if you got to throw some punches, throw it at us, and then we can handle that because we do that all day long, and we help absorb those punches and punch back when we need to or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
but you want the seller to you want them to feel like you're the friendliest, nicest person that's come in and is very complimentary to their business. And so just be respectful. I mean, I've got lots of pointers. One of the other ones is just don't overdress. Like a lot of our companies, we represent blue collar businesses. Don't go into a blue collar business wearing a suit and tie or overdress too much. Think about what the owner of a plumbing company likely wear on a day to day basis and wear that. A polo shirt, maybe not a t shirt, maybe not a suit and tie, but something more casual. Match your audience. And you want that seller to feel like they can relate to you and that you can look them in the eye, give them a firm handshake, like you're maybe a younger version of themselves. That always comes across very well. And then find common ground, build rapport, talk about their family, their sports teams, everything but the business for a little bit. Just all the basics of making a friend. You want to do that when you first get into that meeting.
Yeah, that's super helpful. One of the things you'd mentioned about not really like coming in playing hardball with the numbers. On my end, one of the key questions a buyer asks that just screams, I'm a rookie buyer, is what's your bottom line? They walk in and they're asking the seller, very first meeting, they really start trying to negotiate or diving into too much due diligence when, to your
Mhm.
point, this is really just about relationship building. Can the seller see you as a buyer
Mhm.
taking over the business? Are you going to treat the employees right? Are you going to treat the customers right? Are you going to be able to be competent and capable to run the business? And that's really the goal of the first meeting there.
100%.
Yeah. What's the best way for a buyer to open the meeting and set the tone? Have you seen anything work well on your end for buyers that just do that really well? They set that tone and they start the meeting off nice.
Besides just the basic rapport building stuff, asking them about their family and their hobbies and all that, if you're on site at the business, I like to jump right into a tour relatively quickly because that just, the seller's usually pretty nervous and you might be nervous. And there's something about just walking and talking and getting the blood flowing together, checking out the facility together that really loosens everyone up. And then if you've got to sit down and have some detailed questions about how the operation works and your vision for it, do that after the tour and you're going to know the business a lot better from the tour. The seller's going to relax because they've given lots of tours of their business before. It's something they're familiar with doing. So it's lobbing them a softball, like letting them show you around, give you the nickel tour. And when I like to do when I'm giving a tour or when I'm facilitating a tour is I like to tell the seller, hey, so I know you've given tours before, but I want you to walk me through, if you could, in the order of how a sale happens here. So think about it like this, like what's the first thing that happens when a customer reaches out? Does the phone ring over here? Does an email come into this computer? What's the very first action step? And then what are the following actions that happen? Walk me through a sale from start to finish, from first contact to happy, satisfied customer. And to me, that gives you a much better tour and a much better understanding of the company and how the workflow is, not just how the physical environment is. Instead of pointing, hey, that's our shipping and receiving, that's our HR department, that's this or that, which is just disjointed, pointing to different aspects of the business. Follow a typical transaction throughout the property, and you're going to know it very well. And you'll also get the tour at the same time. But then you're going to feel a lot more intelligent as to how this business actually flows and works. And that's going to lead you to ask better questions when you sit down at the table afterwards.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I do the same thing. I call it the life cycle of an order. I tell the seller, walk us through the life cycle of an order. The very first phone rings, then what happens? Who takes this? Who does what? Who does fulfillment? Who does shipping? Who, where, from start to finish. So we're right on the same page there. Yeah, it's super helpful. One thing I'd just add to that, as far as opening the meeting and setting the tone from a buyer's perspective, is sellers appreciate it if you have relevant background and can do a little background on yourself to show why you're an ideal buyer because you've got some sort of relevant experience. And yeah, maybe you don't have experience running a plumbing company, but if you have experience running and managing a team or something else, that goes a long way. But also, I've always found it helpful in reassuring when buyers come in and just reiterate the fact that they know this is confidential. They know they're not going to talk to the employees and the customer. They're going to honor the NDA and the confidentiality agreement. It just sets the sellers at ease to make sure that they're going to keep it respectful. They're not going to
Mm-hmm.
violate NDA. They're not going to let word get out and leak that the business is for sale.
Yeah, that's a great thing to reiterate. And then the industry experience thing is, I think, something you need to address. I think sellers care a lot about industry experience. And if you don't have industry experience, that can be a tricky thing to navigate. And my advice is to don't fake like you do because they can see through that real quick if you start using jargon and vernacular that you just looked up earlier that day, but you don't really have the depth of knowledge behind it. They're going to see through that real quick. And so you want to find common ground if you've managed people or if you've managed a similar company or done something that's relevant, even if it's in another industry, you want to share that experience. And then you want to try to ask at least intelligent questions related to the industry. So do some industry homework and try to ask some relevant questions. And you can use AI today to prep you for that pretty well, where you could run through a hypothetical. I'm about to go into a plumbing company that's doing this much revenue, this many trucks. What would be some intelligent questions to ask? And you may get some good prompts or some good ideas from that. And you just be curious, show that you know business in general and that you are a quick study and that you're ready to jump in with both feet into that industry and lean on their expertise and their team's expertise to shore up your deficiencies. And I think that's the best way to approach it. Don't fake it, but also don't be totally aloof to it. Get your feet wet before you go in there so you can ask smart questions and be excited about the industry.
Yeah, talking about asking smart questions, obviously questions are relevant to the industry, the business that they're looking at. But what are some good, just general questions that you've seen buyers ask? For example, I often like when a buyer asks, What does a normal week look like for you as a
Hmm.
seller? What happens when you are on vacation for a
Hmm.
week or 2 weeks? That's relevant no matter what industry, what business, but any other relevant questions that you might have seen or come across that would be helpful for buyers to think about or keep in mind?
Yeah, I have a few favorites. One was just what you were starting to say, and I like to say, hey, walk me through a day in the life of the owner here. So, what time do you get into the office? Do you come in every day? What do you do when you get here? And just walk through a typical workday and take notes while you do that and really figure out what does their schedule look like and what exactly do they do, because you're going to need to know how you or someone that you hire could possibly fill this person's shoes, and that means you have to know what they do, and you're going to uncover a lot as you just start walking through specifics of what do they do on a day-to-day basis. So I love asking that. And then one of my favorite ones to ask later in the meeting is, especially with a retiring owner, is you want to throw out a hypothetical that sounds something like this. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let's pretend, let's just put in our pretend hats here. Let's pretend you're 20 years younger and you're super excited about growing this business to be two, three, four times bigger than it is right now. You know everything you know right now. You have access to capital. You've got all the energy and time in the world, and you want to grow this thing like crazy over the next 5 or 10 years. What's some of the first things you would do with everything that you know right now? And get them dreaming about ambitious growth mode again. Because a lot of times, the owner, when they're getting to retirement age, they've started playing defense because you just don't make the investments a lot of times into the let's triple this company up type of stuff when you're at the twilight end of your career, because it's just too risky to do that. But if you can say, hey, let's just take you back, let's turn back the clock 20 years and you still know everything you know right now, what would you do? And that's an exciting one. It sometimes get their entrepreneurial juices flowing, and you're going to take home some really good ideas. And to me, that's one of the most important questions to ask, because they're going to have some great ideas, and then you're trying to gauge, do I really want to buy this company? And when we are analyzing the company to value it and put an asking price or a range on a business, we're typically analyzing the historicals. But I like to say that buyers pay for the past performance, but they really buy the future, because
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to buy the business unless you believe there's a bright future ahead and that you can grow it from here. And ask the seller that question, get them to walk down that hypothetical journey with you and paint that picture. And then if they get excited and they get you excited and they're throwing out good ideas that you think you can execute on as of someone that's 20 years younger than them, that has them and their brain available during the transition, if you get really jazzed and excited about that, then that can be a green flag to say this maybe is the right opportunity. Maybe I should get excited about putting in an offer and moving forward on this thing. So get them thinking about the future and see, do you buy that future or does that sound crazy to you? And that's, if it sounds impossible or crazy or you don't like their answer or that sounds like a big pain in the butt to do whatever they say you'd have to do to double it, then that's a red flag. So use that as a gauge, as a temperature gauge to move
Yeah,
forward.
I love that. What are the red flags? Any other red flags that you think a buyer needs to be aware of? They're meeting the seller for the first time, they're getting a good feel for the business, checking out the operations. What other red flags should they be looking for or asking about?
I think it's a red flag if the seller is trying to sell it too hard. If they're trying to make it sound like everything's perfect, I barely have to come in, everybody knows what they're doing here. If they just make it sound like it's this well-oiled machine, their life is on easy street, I'm throwing the BS flag a little bit right there, because
Hmm.
no business is perfect. I love it when an owner says both sides. They'll tell me, of course, they're going to tell you what's great, what's working, but you want to ask them, hey, I know every business isn't perfect. Like, what frustrates you about this business? What keeps you up at night? What are some problem areas that you've just never been able to overcome? Where's the issues here that don't show up in the presentation? And if they struggle to answer that question or they dance around it, like, that's a red flag. I love it when they'll just be honest and say, you know what? I'm in an owners group with a bunch of other people and they all know how to do digital marketing. I don't know how to do digital marketing. Our website sucks. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I know I'm leaving money on the table there. I paid somebody $30,000, promised me they were going to do it. I got no results. And that's just been, feels like flushing money down the toilet to me. It's been a constant source of frustration. You want to hear them gripe about something, or man, I just can't keep people for a very long time. I'm having turnover issues, and that's the thing that really chaps me about this business. Like, you want them to be honest. There's always something, right? There's always something that is the thorn in their side about the business. So what is that thorn in their side? Are they going to be honest with you about it? Because that just really shows honesty from the seller. And it also can be an opportunity for you as the buyer. Just because it's a problem for them doesn't mean it has to be a problem for you forever. And you're still buying it based on its historical performance right now with that problem. And if you can solve that problem, that could really maybe unlock some future growth or some profitability for you. And can they be honest and uncover some problems? That's a big green flag.
Yeah, I always like to really dive into why are they really selling? Sometimes you see this online, the seller's burned out or they're exploring other opportunities, like these generic nebulous phrases.
Yeah.
There's something behind it. What are they
Mhm.
burned out? And that's maybe not to say that's a bad reason to sell a business, but are they burned out because they've got horrible customers, or are they burned out because they've got a constant staff turnover? And does that scare off a buyer? Because if you've got constant staff turnover, maybe a
Yeah.
buyer's got a great background and can stabilize staff, and that no longer is going to be a future burnout for the buyer. So it's always helpful to figure out why are they really selling? What's really driving that sell?
Yeah. I think a green flag is if you ask the question, hey, what's next for you after you sell this business? And you just shut up and let them answer. If they have a very clear vision of what's next and they're excited about it and you believe it, then you're peeling back that onion of what the reason is that they're selling. I think it's a red flag if they struggle to answer that and they're like, I don't know, we'll see once we get on the other side what I want to do. Because if they can't answer that very clearly, there's a couple things that could be happening. One could be the business is in shambles, they're super burned out, they're trying to not tell you how bad it is, and they're just trying to sell it to get the relief from the pain of this business, but they haven't even had time to dream or think, and they're drowning in this business. And that's a problem. Or they could just be being greedy. If they're just fishing for a buyer to pay an above market price, and they're just thinking it's, but they don't really have a vision for what they're going to do next that they're excited about, then it's hard for you to bring an offer they're going to be excited about if they're not excited about what's next. And so you may just never be able to get them the number they want, never be able to find a deal if they don't have a clear picture as to why are they
Yeah.
selling, what's next. And so what's next is a fantastic question to ask and see if you can get a strong answer from.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's switch gears a little bit. Tell these guys about Dealonomy. What do you do? Give them a good overview. Who's it a good fit for?
Yeah. So Dealonomy is a platform we launched earlier this year. It's brand new. It's dealonomy.com. I've been doing business brokerage for over 10 years, but before I was a broker, I was a buyer. And I was a self-funded searcher before I knew what those words meant. So I'd sold a business, I had some cash in hand, and I was looking for a retiring owner that I could come in and buy their business. I Googled businesses for sale or how to find a business. Ended up on sites like bizbuysell.com and others and quickly discovered, man, it's hard to find a good deal. And when you do find one that sounds good, you're often too late or it's already under contract, or when you get in there and actually sign the NDA and get the information, it's bait and switch. It wasn't what you thought it was going to be in the advertising. And there's just not a lot of quality control in the marketplaces. And I was just disappointed time after time and how hard it was to find a good deal and how hard it was to get a deal done once you do find one. And so this is a culmination of 10 years of that, of trying to solve that problem for buyers. We just created a good deals only platform where every deal on there is going to be priced realistically with bankable financials, motivated sellers, SBA pre-approval for the SBA qualified deals. Just everything you look for as a buyer is going to be right there. And we're trying to make it as easy as possible on a high-tech, high-speed platform to find and close on a business deal. And so it's a buyer-centric marketplace where we bring in the best sellers from around the country. We sell their businesses for free, and buyers pay us to become members in the platform and a small success fee at closing to bring them awesome opportunities. And so we just flipped the script on the industry and we're serving buyers up the best opportunities in the country, we think, and we're operating all across the USA right now. And so if you're a serious buyer and you're tired of that needle in a haystack feeling of sorting through these other marketplaces where you have to kiss a lot of frogs and look at a bunch of junk before you find anything good, we think that Dealonomy should be your first stop to go to because all the deals are good and we make it super easy to find and close your deal. So that's what we're trying to do, is just create like the easy button, first stop, preferred way to buy a business. And then if you can't find something on Dealonomy, then there's a lot of other sites you can go look at and look for opportunities. But that's what we're building.
Yeah, that's fantastic. If anyone wants to get more information, look at signing up to rather than, like you say, hunting and searching for that needle in the haystack, how do they reach out to you? How do they get in contact with Dealonomy? What's the best approach?
It's easiest to just go to the website, dealonomy.com, and you can sign up to be a member there. It's free to join. And then we also have a paid premium membership that gives you some premium benefits. The biggest one is when we launch new deals on the platform, the premium paying members get first look at it for the first 10 days. And then on day 11, it opens up to all the members, including the free members. And so you can join for free. If you see one you like that's in its premium window, you can always upgrade your membership and go look at it today. But you can sign NDAs, go straight into the deal rooms right on the site. You never have to wait on an email attachment with the SIM. Like, it's all just on the website. Easy to navigate, easy to get your deal done. And so, yeah, go sign up. It's free. If you want to reach out to me personally, you can follow me on social media. I'm on all the platforms. My name, Clint Fiore, Fiore. Or you can email me, Clint, CLINT, at dealonomy.com.
Perfect.
No, I just am honored to be on this video with you. You've been a good friend. I feel like
Thanks.
people like you and our group here, we've been trying to raise the bar on this industry, which does suffer from some bad reputation. And I just really appreciate folks like you that do good deals for good people and have a great track record, and always enjoy collaborating with you, Trent. And anything I can do to help you and bless your business, just let me know, man.
Yeah, thanks. Feel the same way.
Great.
All right, let me